keeps the planet spinning. The force from the beginning. We've come too far to give up who we are. So let's raise a bar and our cups to the stars. She's up all night to the sun. I'm up all night to get some. She's up all night for good fun. I'm up all night to get lucky. We're up all night to the sun. We're up all night to get some. We're up all night for good fun. We're up all night to get lucky. We're up all night to get lucky. The present has no rhythm. Your gift keeps on giving. What is this I'm feeling? If you wanna live, I'm with it. We've come too far to give up who we are. So let's raise a bar and our cups to the stars.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the room to order, please, so that we can get started with our agenda for the day. For those of you who are just walking in, karibu, welcome. If you could please try and take a seat that is in front of you. And if we could do that in only 10 seconds, I will be extremely grateful. Those walking in, if you could take your seats. Thank you. Excellencies, honorable ministers, distinguished guests, heads of institutions that are public and private, those that are coming from the civil society representing today, members of the press, the youth that are with us for day 4, welcome. And good morning, all protocol observed. It is my honor to welcome you to day 4 of the African Conference on Agricultural Technology under the theme today, Stewardship. This session will be hinged on cultivating a sustainable future for AgTechnologies that are evolving and solutions that we can apply to advance agriculture on the continent. Those that are joining us, if you could take your seats. We are ready to start our session. Today, as we gather, we're not just gathering as stakeholders, but as stewards of Africa's agricultural future. We are here to explore how we can cultivate a sustainable future with agricultural technologies, as I stated earlier, that can honor our land, that can empower our farmers, that can nourish our continent for generations to come. This morning's session will explore how we can harness the power of technology while upholding the commitment to ethical stewardship, environmental sustainability, and equitable access. We have a very powerful kickoff to this session. We will be beginning with an exciting showcase of groundbreaking work that is happening right here on our continent. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could please join your hands and help me welcome Professor Olalekan Akimbo, the acting head of the Genome Editing Program at the African Union Development Agency, NEPAD, to present the African Union Development Agency, NEPAD's editing program, Genome, and milestones as well as the progress. He will be setting the tone for the day. I think we can give him a warmer round of applause.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Oh, thank you so much. That is welcoming. I want to thank the organizer for the opportunity to be here. Also, I want to thank the opportunity to represent my institution. I will preach to the choir for a start. Preaching to the choir because what I will say has been said over and over. The Africa we want. Zero hunger. That is the aspiration of our leader by the year 2063. Are we driving there? Are we going to get there? What we required? Where is the effort? Where is government position? What are the puzzles that we need to put together to make it happen? We can do it. One thing that is very important is innovation that is not translating to prosperity is still a research material. Until innovation can get to the hand of end user, then it will become an innovation. There are pillars that is very critical to achieve this milestone. Policy is one. Science is overemphasized. We don't doubt it. But how do policy understand science? How is science properly communicated to policymakers? So that at the end of the day, when they understand science, they can formulate policy that drives the agenda. And I'm standing here to represent African Union, saying African Union is ready to take advantage of innovation today so that we can have a prosperous Africa tomorrow. How do we get this done? You see, there are so many things that have been happening on the continent, especially in the biotechnology space for agriculture. But everything is in their pockets. It's segmented. We don't have a common house to get this information. And we realize that for genome editing to stand on a better platform, we need to do the landscape analysis. The landscape analysis is a journey and it's information gathering, but I will give you a full detail. But where we are with it now is that we've started the journey. We've moved from the road 1, we've gotten to the road 2, but the road 3 and road 4 is not far from being reached. But I will give you a snatch of it as we journey together. Just to let us know that the Africa we want is based on science in Africa, by Africa, for Africa. And the capacity building cannot be underemphasized. And this is ongoing. And a lot of scientists in Africa is already being capacitated for this technology, genome editing. And cohorts upon cohorts are being trained in Africa. However, to build a strong science information, that when you are outside Africa and you do not have access to those information, you can zero in on some information in the journals that you can see. And we've put these two journals together, these two review journals, to give us access to information that is available both at the regulatory stage and also both at the science space. Now, communication is critical. How is the messaging done? Who is speaking? And for this project also, we've put together some level of communication hierarchy. Because we are in political space, we need to speak to the government officials, we need to speak to the regulator needs to speak, scientists need to speak, then farmers, the core of it all, also need to have their view heard. And for us to get this thing, it's being pinched on the continental pillar, CADAP, and also on STISA. The focus of CADAP and TISA is driving the purposeful agriculture for the continent. And if you can see in Kampala Declaration, Kampala Declaration, which is taking effect from next year, the journey of CADAP started from Maputo, 2003, down to Malabo, and now we're in Kampala. And you see, in Kampala Declaration, they've already acknowledged the importance of biotechnology to drive the Africa that we want. And how to drive it is that we have already a platform from the government that gives us the enabling environment. I've had through and through the issue of enabling environment. But this continental policy are the driver that we can use. And the landscape analysis that I've just mentioned for the first stage, the essence of it is to really know which policy is in place in agriculture. It is also to know the infrastructure that is in place in Africa. We also need to know the capacity competency that will drive commercialization. That is the first core information that we are gathering for this work that we are doing. Because if you don't know who is doing what, where, and what is the swath for the technology, then everything will be the white paper that we'll be talking, saying, and we're not moving the tray. And the stage that we have for genome medicine is that we need to move the tray. Other information that is important that is being gathered for this purpose is to really know the relevance of genome editing. How do we use it on the continent, and what are the crops that is continent-based? We call it orphan crop. That is not industrial drive. Then how can our research institute take advantage of the technology? And if you can get all this information, you discover that we gather this information to move the process. But the beautiful thing that we need to understand is that those information will not be hidden. It should not be difficult to get. You're not able to be informed. Everything we put in a what we call clickable map of Africa. For each country where this information will be gathered, you can easily go to our website and you get those information. And the website is a trusted website, and we have it under the community of practice, and that is where the clickable map will be loaded. And when this is loaded, you can track out all those information. However, that's the first product that is coming from the landscape analysis. The second product that is very critical is not only just having the information that is not anchored on the continental decision process. So decision process is important for us to have a leverage for the government to listen to us. Because if we don't have that decision document, then it is just another story. And we don't want this to be another white paper document. So there's a pathway. It might be slow, but it's steady. And when it is sure, you can present to the government. And those are the pathways that AUDA never can bat through. But we are working more on getting this information after the regional validation, the continental validation. We present it to the specialized technical committee where we can get a decision for this technology. And if we can get that done, then the struggle of speaking to the policymaker, the struggle of them listening to us is minimized. And you can present to them, as we speak of CADAP today, as we speak of TISA today, and with every other policy instrument that we use in African Union, we can be able to flag it that for genome editing, it is spoken about in CADAP. For genome editing, it is in TISA. So here we are as a decision document. And if we can get that done, then we are in to go. Now, let me almost rounding up here, because I promised the coordinator that I will not spend all my time, is we're talking of innovation. We have innovation today. Until innovation we have today translates to tomorrow's prosperity, we'll be going around the cycle. And the benefit of innovation is to translate to benefit. Let me also quickly acknowledge those that are supporting us for this process. One, Gates Foundation is the one that is really giving us a lot of support. Then Gate Agwan, they are supporting us on the landscape analysis that we are doing. New Venture Funding, they're also supporting us both on the video documentary we are doing presently and also component of the landscape analysis we are doing. I mentioned African Union member states because they have committed to give us all that is required to drive the process. I will use my last slide to say one thing. If you see from that picture, that is Ethiopia. They are open. They are willing. And all the countries we have gone to, by explaining, by proper communication, they are ready for the technology. But we need a proper policy too to drive the process. That's why we are sure the journey of Agenda 2063 can be realized in our own time. Thank you so much.
And indeed, he kept his promise. Can we give him a round of applause? Thank you so much. Thank you, Professor. Now, to offer opening remarks and continue to set the scene for our important conversation this morning, it is now my honor to invite His Excellency Ambassador Professor Mamadou Ka, board member of the African Agricultural Technology Foundation, AATF. You're welcome, Your Excellency.
A very good morning. A very good morning. Distinguished delegates, respected participants, visionary farmers in the audience, the dynamic youths that we have encountered in the past few days, and our very committed partners. It is indeed an honor to once again welcome you to this very high-level plenary dialogue towards the tail end of ACAT 2025 here in Kigali, a very vibrant city, symbolic of Africa's resilience and resolve. Our theme today, Stewardship, Cultivating a Sustainable Future with AgTech Solutions, reflects the urgent need to pair innovation with responsibility and to ground progress in equity, sustainability, and inclusion. We gather at a pivotal moment. Africa's agricultural transformation, I submit, is no longer a future aspiration. It is indeed a present imperative. Technology is reshaping what is possible, but it is our stewardship that will determine whether those innovations deliver impact for all or entrench inequality. Why stewardship matters now? The future of AgTech in Africa, I submit here this morning that it hinges on three core stewardship principles from my perspective. One, transparency. Our farmers, enterprises, or private sector participants, our universities and research institutions, and consumers must have clear, accessible information about how technologies function, how they are adapted to context, and more importantly, ease of use and affordability. And I will underscore also their environmental impact and how data is used. This, ladies and gentlemen, will build trust and enable responsible adoption. Two, equitable access. AgTech must serve everyone, and I mean everyone, particularly our smallholder farmers. It's no good if it doesn't reach them, if they don't embrace it, and if they don't feel comfortable with it. By managing intellectual property ethically, we can prevent monopolies and enable fair access. Responsible intellectual property frameworks can indeed incentivize innovation while ensuring shared benefits. And as I submitted yesterday in our panel, we must not fear intellectual property. We must embrace it, and we must build the building blocks of an IP ecosystem, particularly in the agricultural space, so that we can collectively participate in it and be protected and harness its enormous value and benefits. Third, regenerative models. We must invest in technologies that truly and meaningfully restores ecosystems, enhance our soil health, and I was pleased to hear this morning breakfast a point made by one of our partners emphasizing that we must not lose sight the importance of soil health, a very important point. And we must empower communities, ensuring agricultural production stays within our planet's ecological limits. And we at AATF values the work and partnership that is being engaged with Virginia Tech on their productive capacity work across the continent. I wish to acknowledge and appreciate that. These are not abstract ideals. They are actionable imperatives. So in this plenary, I view it as a call to reimagine how we develop and scale AgTech, not only for profits, but for people and our planet. Let me remind for our collective reflection, Africa's agricultural reality throughout the exchanges I've heard here. The context we must consider always. Africa spans over 30 million square kilometers in most estimates. Our population continues to grow from 200 million 30 years ago to close to 1 billion, about 930 million today. And most estimates suggest it will reach 1.7 billion in sub-Saharan Africa by 2050. In some estimates also, agriculture employs close to 57% of Africa's workforce, but only contributes 17% to GDP. Also, productivity growth remains under 1% per year in quite a number of estimates, far too slow to meet our needs of our growing population. Yet, we have powerful opportunities. I think that is the bright side of this. In 2022, it is estimated that the global AgTech sector attracted close to $10.6 billion in investment, with innovations in artificial intelligence, drones, and precision agriculture leading the way. Our African Union has already called for the adoption of drone and satellite imagery for agricultural development. And research also tells us that every 1% growth in agricultural GDP increases income for the poorest by about 1.6%. This is why, Excellencies and delegates, that we must act. We must act strategically, we must act inclusively, and we must act urgently. A convergence of agreement from all of us throughout the days in this Act 2025 is the centrality of the youth. Hardly any statement or any intervention throughout these past few days that will not invoke the youth. Indeed, what that suggests is the youth, they are the present force of change. So let us be clear. Africa's youth are not just future beneficiaries of AgTech. I submit they are its architects and catalysts. Our young innovators are designing mobile apps for market linkages. They're building climate-smart tools and blending indigenous knowledge with cutting-edge science. They are not waiting for us to be included. Let's be clear about that. They are already leading. And I think we saw a glimpse of it yesterday's youth session. And that's just a pebble among our youth innovators and creators across our continent. And AATF hears you that we must be more inclusive and broaden the participation of youth in this very timely and important dialogue. But they need support, our collective support. They need access to capital. They need mentorship. They need the policy space. And they need, more importantly, protection of their very unique and creative ideas. The youth imperative is quite clear. Our young people are not just beneficiaries, as I said. I remind, they are architects of the needed transformation. They are digital natives, uniquely positioned to bridge technology and tradition. They see value chains differently from any one of us in this room, from mobile market linkages to circular economy models, which we have not seen or dealt with in our generation. They will inherit the results of today's decisions. Yet, barriers persist. And I will also remind, lack of funding, fragmented policies, and infrastructure gaps must be addressed. Therefore, I call for the launch of an emerging youth leadership and fellowship program for AgTech. What do I mean by that? We must be courageous and put in place a continental platform, truly, that goes beyond rhetoric to train and fund for a start at least 10,000 youth innovators by 2027. I hope by the next Act 2025, we will be able to embrace and address that and come to this podium and set and register that we have 10,000 youth innovators that we are all supporting and training with a strong focus on rural areas and women-led enterprises. We can do this. We can do this, and we must do this. For three takeaways for our stakeholders, as we move and come to the finality of our dialogue, I urge all stakeholders to act on these core priorities, and forgive me for being too direct and bold. One, embrace transparency and product integrity. We must build trust through open communication about AgTech's impact, benefits, and risk. And I think communication was invoked by my brother during his presentation in his opening remarks. Two, we must ensure equitable access and ethical licensing. We touched upon this on yesterday's panel on licensing and IP. We have to design intellectual property and policy frameworks that guarantees our smallholders and public institutions fair access to protected innovations. Somebody says he loves money this morning. It is in these innovations and in these IP where there are loads of money if we do it right and we have the competence and skill to negotiate and guide our partners and protect the indigenous knowledge and infuse them and use them and share them. Third, we must invest in regenerative and inclusive models. We have to support technologies that enhance ecosystems, health, and empower communities, particularly our youth, as active stewards of agricultural transformation. I will leave you with some questions for all of us to reflect as we move out of here. One, how can we ensure that intellectual property frameworks encourage innovations while preventing monopolies that sideline smallholders and young creators? Two, what strategies can integrate regenerative AgTech into African systems with youth at the center? How can stakeholders collaborate to overcome funding and infrastructure gaps, ensuring sustainability that becomes a lived reality, not just a slogan or numbers we just throw out as commitments? How can we redesign funding to prioritize youth-led AgTech startup and factor it in that 10,000 number that I invoke? What policies should we put in place to dismantle barriers for our young women in agriculture? Let me close with this call. Africa's agriculture will be most sustainable when it is youth-driven, when it is technology-enabled, and planet-conscious. To every policymaker in this room, I urge you to rededicate and step up to craft national youth AgTech strategies. And to every investor in this room, I challenge you to allocate at least 30% of AgTech portfolios to youth-led ventures. I think it was yesterday or day before yesterday, we heard from Equity Bank that they allocate 30% of their loan portfolio to agriculture, albeit meeting the risk requirement. And I remember His Excellency, the former president of Nigeria, was appreciative and said, wow, that is wonderful. And if all banks follow suit, it is amazing what could happen. And in that light, I'm suggesting that investors should also allocate at least 30% of AgTech portfolios to youth-led ventures to put meaning to the rhetoric and the voices we invoke about youth. To every leadership in this room, which is all of you, mentor young innovators because our future depends on it. Our youth are coding solutions, they're deploying drones, and they're reimagining value chains. Our responsibility is not too complicated. Our responsibility is to equip them, to actively listen to them, and bring them around the table, and yes, follow their lead, because we will just be surprised how much we can learn and benefit. The tools are in their hands. The time is not yesterday, is not tomorrow, the time is now. Let this plenary ignite a movement in all of us, bold, courageous, inclusive, and unstoppable, towards a future where African agriculture thrives not just in yield, but in justice, in sustainability, and in shared prosperity. The tools are here, and again, the time is now. Let us all leave this room not with words, but with actionable pledges to steward a future, a meaningful future, where technologies truly and meaningfully serves our people, our planet, and prosperity. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you and I say, let's begin the journey now. And I thank you so much. God bless you all.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Let us appreciate him once more for that clear call to action and very insightful remarks. Now, we are pleased to welcome our keynote speaker, Dr. Chris Holgrave, who is the CEO of the Global Stewardship Group and the Executive Director of Excellence Through Stewardship. Doctor, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you all very much for this opportunity. I very much appreciate the organizers dedicating a session to stewardship. And I think it's appropriate that it's the last day. As we think about what we've discussed and what's been said over the last several days, from the farmer-centric focus to enabling investments to overcoming that last mile, to getting the great ideas and technologies into the hands of the growers, stewardship plays an absolute critical role in this endeavor. So I'm just going to cover a little bit of sort of the practical application of stewardship in this effort and its importance relative to actually getting those technologies, enabling those technologies into the hands of those who are the direct beneficiary, the growers, and certainly eventually the consumers. So just a very quick note about our organization. So we're the Global Stewardship Group. We're a nonprofit global organization focused on operating programs that cover both transgene technologies as well as new breeding innovations, such as genome editing, which we heard about earlier this morning. We also run a number of stewardship education and training programs. So for us, we operate multiple programs. Excellence Through Stewardship is our transgene technology. So how do we responsibly manage that technology? Again, to enable it coming from the laboratory all the way through to finally getting in the hands of growers and eventually consumers. So Excellence Through Stewardship is for transgene technologies. Plant breeding innovations is for genome editing and other new breeding innovations. And these are membership-based programs. So organizations such as AATF, groups like CIAT, IITA, Gates Ag 1, as well as large multinational corporations such as Corteva, Bayer, BASF, all participate in these types of programs to essentially put in a basic stewardship standard. And then we go in and have a third party audit those organizations to make sure that they're doing what they say they're doing relative to their stewardship operations. So ETS is for transgene technology, PBI is for our genome editing technologies, and then we operate learning programs, e-learning platforms, and other workshops designed to enhance stewardship education and training. So when we talk about product stewardship, we really are talking about the responsible management of that technology from its very early research and discovery phase all the way through to its actual use by the grower, and then its use by whether it's a processor, and then eventual discontinuation of that product. So we take this full life cycle approach. So making sure we have the appropriate policies, procedures, work instructions to ensure effective management of the technology throughout each of these stages of product development. So this is why it matters for us. So we talk about good stewardship, and really the foundation of good stewardship is enabling the technology. So how do we make sure that great idea in the laboratory, as it moves across that product life cycle, ends up in the hand of the grower, whether it's an agronomic trait that benefits the growers, whether it's a nutritional trait that might benefit a sector of consumers? How do we ensure that that happens? And good stewardship is really the enabler, the driver to that. So it includes things like making sure we have a good flow of trade across international boundaries, making sure that we pay attention to the sustainability of these products, making sure that they're durable, that these innovations last a long time, that we don't have things like resistance built up, which basically negatively impacts the overall value of a technology because it can't be used for the number of years you expect it to be used. Making sure that we have good relationships with our stakeholders and others in the value chain. So we do all this on a good stewardship side to avoid that other half of the ledger. How do we avoid these stewardship failures? And really the key failure there is talking about things like product integrity. So when we have product concerns, product performance issues, that is one of the key things that kills technology, kills its enabling, kills its adoption, is when the product doesn't perform as expected. So all of these things and these potential failures are why we institute good stewardship practices, to try to mitigate the potential for those problems. So just to take it at a very high level, and now I will tell you that from a global stewardship standpoint, we offer a lot of materials on our website free of charge. So we have guides that get into very detailed discussions of all of these areas. So I'm not going to talk about that today, but I will just refer you to www.gsg.ag is where you can find guidance documents that will get into much more detail about all these areas. But essentially, we're talking about sort of key fundamental things, a lot of which have been touched on already. We're talking about making sure you have the appropriate structure in place to provide good stewardship. Make sure that you have the documentation so you can prove that stewardship, so you can find issues when they arise. Making sure that there's good training in place. And we've talked about communication and making sure there's good communication across value chains and across whether it's investors, whether it's government officials, down to farmers. So that whole value chain must be communicated to appropriately. And in the end, we're really talking about making sure we have that plant product integrity. So as a product moves from that early laboratory stage, goes to the greenhouse, goes to a field, then eventually seed production and commercial distribution, and then into the hands of that grower, when he grows that or she grows that product, making sure that what they expect to happen with that is actually what happens. That's really key to good stewardship, is making sure that fantastic idea that's had in the laboratory is actually realized in the fields. And that's really what good stewardship is all about. So how do we do that in practice? So for the organizations that participate in our programs, and what we sort of coach those when we talk about good stewardship practices, and we teach about and train about good stewardship practices, we're really talking about fundamental quality systems. Making sure, again, at the end point, that seed quality is what matters. So we're talking about making sure we identify those problem areas. So that's the first two, the top two green areas there. Making sure we identify the product integrity concerns, so the what could happen negatively, the critical control points where those could happen negatively, and then developing the appropriate procedures to mitigate potential problems, mitigate potential errors that could happen and could result in those stewardship failures, which again can have that negative impact on enabling the technology, on adopting the technology. So we want to make sure that we're identifying those and we're putting in those preventive measures to be able to do that. We also want to make sure that we have an opportunity to be able to verify that we've done this appropriately. So that's the verification aspect and assessment aspect of this. We know that problems are going to occur and that problems can happen. So when those happen, we want to make sure we have appropriate procedures already in place to take corrective actions to ensure that those don't happen again. Again, a failure can happen. We want to make sure that those failures aren't compounded and continue to happen. So we make sure that we have corrective actions put in place. Making sure that we have an already implemented incident response system for when problems do happen, we don't have to scramble and figure out how to address this. We already have the procedures in place. We have the stewardship plan in place to respond to an incident. And then making sure that we have the appropriate documentation to be able to ensure that organizations that are involved in stewardship are doing what they say they're going to do. And when there is a problem, that we can trace where that problem occurred and correct that problem. Again, we are about enabling the technologies, and that's really what stewardship, the bottom line of stewardship is to enable the technology. So again, from a practical standpoint, we implement a quality system to be able to do that, and we analyze these across all the stages of development. So in the laboratory, we look at each of these elements, in the greenhouse, in the fields, in production sites, and distribution to the grower. Making sure that all of these areas are covered. We have procedures in place that will help to mitigate any potential risks and liabilities that could occur relative to this. So I'm going to close there, And just to let you know, from a stewardship standpoint, we feel like good stewardship is essentially fundamental to be able to enable this technology and be able to get these wonderful ideas, again, into the hands of the growers. Without good stewardship practices, that's when we have problems. We have problems with acceptance of the technology. We have problems with being able to get the technology to the grower, the performance in the fields, all those different types of things. So good stewardship practices in the end is really what enables us getting this technology and actually using it effectively. So I very much appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about stewardship here today. Thank you very much.
Good morning once again. Good morning. Thank you so much. I know that we've been together for the first part of our morning. We had a lot of insightful remarks, and now we're transitioning into our second part of the morning, which is a panel discussion. And I would like you to please join me in welcoming our panelists this morning, starting with Professor Johnny Vandenberg, who is the Program Manager for Integrated Pest Management at Northwest University, South Africa. Also joining me on the stage is Dr. Olusegun Adedayo Yerokan, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic Affairs at RICA. Professor Emmanuel Ikani, the Executive Director, National Agriculture Extension and Liaison Services, Zaria, Nigeria. We also have Dr. Gregory Jaffe, who is the President, Jaffe Policy Consulting, LLC, joining us for the conversation. Welcome, Doctor. Ms. Stella Rosine, who is the Chief Economist at the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning, Rwanda, also joining us on the stage. Ms. Evelyn Rusenaka, who is the Director, Stewardship Africa, Middle East, CropLife Africa, Middle East, is also with us today. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me on the stage for this really important conversation. And as they get ready to receive our questions this morning, I urge you, yesterday I asked that we stay off our phones, and I was corrected this morning. Somebody said to me that they are actually taking notes. So if you're taking those notes, we have a hashtag up there. Help us take this conversation even outside of the room. Professor, I would like to start with you. We have heard a lot about different strategies, but I want you to help us unpack how researchers and innovators can adopt to align product performance with environmental stewardship and also long-term sustainability. How can we effectively achieve that?
Thank you. I'm glad you mentioned the words environmental stewardship and ecological sustainability, because that is what stewardship of everything is really about. And through good stewardship, that's the only way we can ensure functionality of traits in crops. I've been involved with, and I come from a crop protection and crop management background, I've been involved with genetically modified BT crops for nearly 30 years now. And I have first-hand experience of the impact of poor stewardship if trait functionality is lost. It breaks trust, it increases production costs, and debates open up about environmental impact, non-target organisms, and so on, which we can prevent if we do good stewardship. But to do good stewardship, we need a very strong seed sector and continuous deliberate, continuous engagement between all role players, including the farmers, of course. And then we need a good stewardship program. And a case in point is the excellent program with BT Cowpea in West Africa. Well thought through, well documented, clear, accessible process and program, and largely developed with Francis Onyekachi over the past few years. And of course, monitoring is critical. You know, there's the saying, people don't do what you expect, they do what you inspect. And to get good stewardship integral to the cropping and management practices, we need to have monitoring of all processes through the life cycle. So, in the larger context, I think we should bring into the discourse the ecological sustainability. By intensifying agriculture, getting higher yields, looking at soil fertility, we are reducing biodiversity loss, we're doing land sparing, and we're looking at environmental conservation in the end. And that is what good stewardship ultimately is. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much. Doctor, I'll come to you. How can the public institutions and the private sector effectively collaborate when it comes to open-scale source and shared benefits AgTech models that can be adopted across Africa? How can we achieve that?
Thank you very much. I hope I'm audible. For many years, we've talked about public-private partnerships, and which is meant to get the various sectors together to contribute to society. And it has worked to various extents, maybe not so successful. I would want to propose that we need to focus a bit more on innovation hubs and accelerators, because I believe that it gives us the opportunity whereby the public institutions, research institutions, universities, etc., who have the manpower, who have the knowledge, they have a critical mass, and the private sector can be intentional in what they are looking for and what they need. But there's co-creation and sharing of knowledge and a process that we go through together. I believe that innovation is meant to serve society, and therefore such results of those innovations must be accessible and affordable. And so the Innovation Hub provides an opportunity whereby the public sector, the government, can provide public good to the general populace, our small-scale farmers, etc. The private sector, as partners, can also protect, to a large extent, commercialization and their profits. And the public sector, the universities and research institutions, can also continue to engage in knowledge generation. We have a high population of students who are just yearning to go with a lot of ideas and innovations. They need support. The universities by themselves do not have sufficient resources to help assist and mentor these students, and therefore the intentionality of the private sector in this partnership. So I believe that innovation hubs and accelerators are critical. Universities have the space, we have the human resource, the private sector has the financial capacity, and they can also bring on board, I believe, the finance sector faster than the public sector can. I believe this would help us. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to now come to Professor Emmanuel. Yes, Professor Emmanuel, we heard a lot about IPs. There's been a lot of conversations about that. And I want to come to you. How can African IP frameworks balance innovation, protection with equitable access and adaptability when it comes to onboarding these solutions?
Thank you. A million thanks for inviting me here. Before I respond to your question, I will need to say this, that Professor Mohammed has laid a very good foundation, and he gave figures. Those figures are not just numbers. I also did to look at the population of Africa. In 1960, we were 273 million. By today, this month, it's about 1.5 billion. That is the number of mouths we need to feed. And if you convert that based on average of $2, 500 US dollars, and multiply by this 1.5 billion, we are talking about a minimum of 6 billion US dollars to feed every day in Africa. And that is how this topic on agri-tech solution is important. What we were doing in 1960, we cannot be doing it now to feed this population. And so I want to answer your question by telling us that the intellectual properties are intangible valuables. They are intangible valuables that are products of human intellect. And for us to appreciate it, we must begin to put value, that these are things of value, even though they are intangibles. And to properly begin to document, to catalog those ones, those IPs that are of commercial values. We need to catalog them and put value to it, have great value for them, for protection. And like you heard in the morning, protecting these things should not be a platform for inaccessibility for all the stakeholders. Equity in accessibility should be allowed. So that, because like we heard yesterday, the success story of any agri-tech solution is at the last mile, at the finishing line, we should be able to see that it has been adopted and there's scaling. Adoption, scaling. That is one of the things we need to know to begin to beat our chest that it has been successful. So I want to say that there must be a balance. We need to protect because we need to protect it. There are values. Things of values need to be protected. We need to protect it, but not to the point of where the stakeholders across the value chains will not be able to access. And I want to say that both the innovators, the users of innovation, if you put value to it, there should be a platform for reward, for appreciation, recognition, and reward, so that the ownership of the invention should feel comfortable that he's done a job and is recognized and there's an award. I would even recommend that at the national level, there should be a platform where every year, even in this meeting, we should end up picking up those Africans that are doing great in agri-tech solution for award, for recognition. By this doing, you will notice that there will be a feeling of, oh, I've achieved. And they will not like to be warehousing the technologies. And let me quote what the boss of IT said when they were launching their next strategy plan. A question came. These technologies and agri-tech solutions that are on the shelf in the research institute, what do you do with them? He gave a very simple answer. He said we should go in and dismantle the shelves. We should go in and dismantle the shelves. So I think we must protect our IPs, but not to the point of preventing people to access it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and very well said. Thank you. Dr. Gregory, I'd like to come to you now. To truly embody a sustainable future when it comes to onboarding these solutions that we have been talking about, what types of policies do you think should be adopted at the national level to establish a very enabling environment, but also if you could talk to me about how we can have that for the different types of products that we can use for the farmers, and as well as incentives when it comes to investment. We keep hearing that being brought up over and over again, but also really honing in on how we can ensure equity while doing that, and really prioritize the benefits.
Thank you. For my intervention on policies, I'm going to break it up into two parts. One, the first part would be sort of some of the guiding principles, I think, that are important to establishing any kind of policy that would support sustainable futures with ag technologies. Those guidelines include things like transparency. There needs to be transparency about both the development of the policy and also its implementation. I always describe this as answering the questions of who, what, where, when, and how, so everybody knows, every actor knows their respective responsibilities. Second principle would be certainty and accountability in the policy. If different stakeholders and actors need to understand the policy, comply with the policy, but then if they do that, they're entitled to a decision in a timely and efficient manner. So some certainty there. How do you plan? How do you develop things if you don't have certainty? The third would be flexibility. The technologies we talk about today, they're going to be different technologies we talk about tomorrow and the next day. If we spend lots of time with the policies that are very detailed and specific, we're never going to catch up to the science. So we have to build flexibility into those policies. And of course, there needs to be public participation and engagement in those policies. The public and stakeholders can provide critical input on the policies that are established, but they also, if they're engaged in that process, have buy-in on those policies, because government alone can't implement those policies. It takes everyone to do that. So those are the guiding principles. So what kind of policies can we do to support AgTech solutions? And I'm going to give you my bottom line first, which is be creative. First of all, there's lots of different policy mechanisms out there. And secondly, don't reinvent the wheel. Lots of other countries and other places have done all kinds of different policies, so try to do that. So what kinds of policies could we do? There are policies and regulations that ensure safety of new and novel technologies, safety to the food supply, the environment, worker protection. It's critical these policies are science-based, that they're efficient, that they use existing data and existing risk assessments. We don't need to reinvent the wheel there. There are policies that help in the development of new ag technologies, policies that support research and development, education policies develop scientists and engineers who develop those policies. Even statements by the government that allow scientists to carry out work in an area like gene editing, or funding universities in an area like that, are strong messages that that's acceptable, that that's part of the government strategy to move forward. And then there are all kinds of policies that help new ag technologies move to commercialization and compete in the marketplace. There could be tax incentives for developers, subsidies for the development costs, such as grants or loan guarantees for building the infrastructure that you need to produce these products, incentives for farmers to adopt the technologies. You could subsidize the cost of the seed, reduce the risk to the farmer through crop insurance or contract guarantees for purchasing the product. There's risk all along the supply chain, and I think if you really want to, there are all different kinds of policies to reduce that risk or to move that risk across the broader society, so it's not only in the arm, not all that the farmer is not the one who has all that risk, if we really want to move adopted policies forward. There are policies that help products of AgTech compete in the marketplace, labeling policies that support the products and inform consumers, guarantees by the government to purchase the product, incentives for others to purchase the product. So we have demand pull. In my country, we have the Bio-Preferred program, which sets up a program that requires or gives a preference to federal procurement of bio-based products. So companies know that if they produce a bio-based product that's certified by that program, the government's going to buy it. And the government, the US government, is a big purchaser. So that is sort of a guaranteed market. We want policies that protect the ag solutions that can be utilized going forward. We heard that from Chris. Those can be stewardship policies to protect the technology so we don't get resistance. We've heard about IP policies that protect it, but also policies that protect the data. A lot of these new technologies are data-driven. How do we protect the data for farmers? Those kinds of things all will help enable. And then we also have policies about sustainability, broad policies that support the industry or develop sustainable practices. I think of these more as government-wide strategies. Several governments in Africa have bioeconomy strategies. I think of others who have strategies to, for example, reduce the amount of petroleum plastic, to have biodegradable plastic products, to minimize water use. Those kinds of broad strategies will affect this. So I would just say in conclusion, there are lots of different policies, and my message is to be creative, So you need to use more than one different kind of policy instrument. Some of those are regulations, some of those are broad statements, some of those are financial, whether they're incentives or subsidies. You need all of those if we really want to set up the enabling environment that both gives these products to farmers, helps build that infrastructure, helps make sure that these products are equitably utilized across the chain of actors.
Well, thank you so much. You've unpacked quite a lot there. Thank you. I would like to move on to Ms. Stella. Coming into this conversation, I was really looking forward to this question. I know our president and a lot of African leaders have talked about the need to look inward when it comes to funding. So my question for you today is, what are some of the key strategies for mobilizing public resources and private domestic capital to invest in sustainable agricultural technologies? How can we do this? But if you could also shed some light on what Rwanda has done in this area.
Thank you very much, Isabel, and thanks for having me for this conversation. There are different ways of approaching it, and specifically for us in Rwanda. The first option, of course, which is more obvious for the government, is to use the national budget. When you look at the trend over the past years, amount that has been allocated specifically for the sector, the agriculture sector, has been oscillating between 8 and 10% of the national budget. This is, I would say, not enough in terms of resources. But again, the government, given the limited resources, cannot, of course, be able to support the sector as one would expect. And as I've been listening since this morning, different interventions, people have been talking about innovation. Yes. So we need to be innovative, think creatively, try to do things differently. And some of the things that we've tried to do in Rwanda includes, of course, try to understand why, when it comes to private finance coming from the financial institutions, why is it so low? When you look at the FinScope survey that was released by the central bank, the survey related to financial sector, money that goes to agriculture is about 6% only. About 6% for total credit. This is very low. And we've tried to understand why it's so low. So the risk perception by the financial institution is very high. So they believe that agriculture is a very risky investment. And there are two reasons to that. First, because they don't really understand the sector. People who work in financial institutions, they need to understand better the sector, understand the whole value chain as it has been described. There are risks related to each stage and each step of the production value chain. So that is one issue. And it leads to high borrowing costs, yes, of course. The other issue is related to now the farmer, the productivity of his activity. So how is he able to demonstrate that he is productive? So that also is another issue. Now, for us to be able to tackle those two, so there is what we are trying to do in terms of lowering the risk perception so that the borrowing cost would reduce and make available financing to the farmer at affordable rates. So the government has extended through the Development Bank of Rwanda, which also extended financing to the financial sector to help de-risk and reduce the cost so that people who would access financing for agriculture would access it at affordable cost. Yeah. But there is also insurance that is being provided. When you look at our national agriculture strategy, insurance strategy, it gives details about how a farmer could access those insurance products for crop and also for livestock. But again, when you look also at that, the uptake is, again, very low.
Yes.
And there is a lot of work to be done on that side. And ultimately, the idea is for financial institutions to also embed in the financial instrument that they provide that insurance aspect. And going forward for the government to be able to pull out progressively. But for now, we are doing that to help de-risk the sector. And that is on the side of helping the farmer for the productivity issue. How do we insure his crops, the livestock? How do we also help on the side of the financial institution the risk perception to lower the risk perception and lower the borrowing costs? But there is also ongoing conversation of seeing how we could help provide the profile of the farmer to the banks so that they understand really the sector, because that's also another problem. In terms of innovative instrument of funding, very recently the Development Bank of Rwanda has issued a sustainability-linked bond.
Okay.
The good thing with that is because it relies on domestic financing. It does not, most of the investors were local, so it was in local currency, which is an important aspect if you want to mitigate the risk related to Forex.
Yes.
And some of the KPIs are related to climate adaptation and climate mitigation, which is also important for the sector if you want to make it more resilient.
Yes.
So those kind of instruments, and it is the first development bank in Africa to be able to do that, and it has already issued twice, and the idea is also to continue and issue a third one. We are also at national level preparing to also to have a sustainability-linked framework, which will also embed some of those KPIs related to agriculture and making sure that...
Our time is a little bit fast spent, but we still have about 30 seconds for you to summarize.
Yes. One last point is related to, of course, as government, the fact that we need also to be clear about our policies. The more you're clear about your policies, you're able to attract the private investors. And we've recently done some tax policies measures. Among those policies, agriculture, of course, is not taxed. And this is an important factor for investors to also understand that as part of our investment code, for people investing in agriculture sector, they are able to invest without being taxed. And the last one is to understand also that into our public financial management system, the whole cycle, from the selection of the project up to the allocation of budget, we have embedded criteria to see what is green related, what is not green related. And that also helps and give comfort to investors to understand where the money is going.
Yes.
Especially agriculture.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for sharing. And I would not be doing my nation justice if I don't say Rwanda is one of the most, if not the most investor-friendly places. So I'm seeing a lot of potential investors here, and I hope she'll be very busy after this panel session. And last but definitely not least, I'd love to come to you, Evelyn. When it comes to regenerative AgTech solutions that are delivering measurable gains, I would like for you to talk to us about what is being done right. What are some of those that you could highlight that can help? Somebody earlier talked about soil health, but also climate resilience across the nation. I know you don't have a lot of time, but I'm sure you can share with us.
Okay. I don't know if it's on.
Come.
Thank you very much, Isabella. So I come from an industry that represents the manufacturers and distributors of pesticides. Pest control products are really seen to be one of those products that we want to keep away from. And pesticides are really integral in terms of production. And also, pesticides are poisons. And stewardship in this particular case really plays a very critical role. And regenerative agriculture and stewardship go hand in hand. And within CropLife Africa Middle East, the organization I work for, stewardship is really one of our key mandates in terms of ensuring that the farmers are able to maximize the benefits of the products that we give them, yet minimize the risks that are associated with them. Now, when we look at alignment with regenerative agriculture within the pesticide industry, some of the innovations that we are bringing to align with this, maybe I can mention 3 of them. One of them is the precision application tools. And I think since the whole week we have been talking about the use of drones. And using drones in terms of application, and also we have what we call the smart sprayers. Now, we are focusing, or as the industry, we want to ensure that we aim for efficiency, we aim for efficacy, but again, reduce the pesticide load from the farmers. And for example, Asia, the adoption of drones has really gone to almost 80%. Yes, 2 days ago, we talked about use of drones, but there's no country in Africa which has any legal framework for the adoption of drones in agriculture. Now, if we want to ensure that we have been able to align with the regenerative agriculture in terms of precision application, then we need to focus on how can we escalate the adoption of drones within the region. The second item that I can talk about within stewardship is that as an industry, we are constantly innovating safer molecules, safer products, and one of the key innovations that we are coming up is the use of biologicals and biopesticides in terms of crop protection. And for that, we are looking at promotion of biologicals in terms of stewardship towards focusing towards protection of the biodiversity, protection of the farmer, and also protection of the consumer of our goods. And this also goes hand in hand with stewardship. And when we look at stewardship right now, stewardship is also really transforming. We are now not all about numbers. We are now all about impact. We are now not all about volume-based solutions. We are now more about value-based solutions for the farmers. So as we transform stewardship and as we look at regenerative agriculture together with the innovators of these molecules, we need to ensure that stewardship plays a key role towards sustainability in terms of this use of the products. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I would like to now get into our parting shots in the interest of time. Yesterday, I asked our panelists in the first session of the panel, and I said, can you give me in one line a key takeaway? I'm going to ask the same of the panel today, and we can see who was best when it came to summary writing at school. We want you to give us in a sentence, using just 30 seconds, what your key takeaways are when it comes to holistic stewardship, AgTechnologies for Africa, the stakeholders in the room and beyond. What do you think they should live with?
Thank you. Yes, agriculture in Africa is changing, and we are doing it better. And AgTech has a huge role. New innovations have a huge role, but we should through stewardship, take care of the new innovations and not lose them, as we've done with so many other technologies and insecticide, pesticides over the last 50 decades because of poor stewardship.
It's changing. We need to evolve.
I believe we need to look at the relevance of innovation for our context, the affordability of those innovations and the scalability of those innovations. Thank you.
Powerful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The statement made at the first day of this meeting from an Indian that every other thing can wait, but not agriculture. The implication is this: except and unless we fix agriculture in our various nations, whatever we are fixing will remain unfixed. That we need to know. And I want to say, those of you from the Francophone country, there is the agency that registers and licenses your IP. It's called OAPI. It's a French name. For those of you from East and Southern Africa, this is a RIPO. Those of us from Nigeria, there's an act of plant variety protection of 2021. So you can register. Don't fear. Register your license and embrace it. For stewardship, my ordinary word for stewardship means eye on the ball, right from the lab to the consumer table. Eye on the ball. Let's do this and protect our IPs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before I give you my takeaway, I do want to quickly announce two things that I think are important for this audience to be aware of. Next week, the FAO is having a major international conference on biotechnology. They haven't revised their position statement or their policy on biotech in more than a decade before gene editing even existed. And so I would ask everybody to, you can listen virtually to that conference next week. But I think look forward to what comes out of that, because I'm hoping that we will have a much more positive statement about biotechnology and its use in food and agriculture. And I think that will be a very important policy for many of the countries here. The second thing is the G20 this year is being led by South Africa. And they've been having a series of meetings around bioeconomy. And South Africa is trying to set up a financial instrument which would have a significant amount of money to be utilized in Africa to build the infrastructure for bio-based products. So again, another way to try to address some of the concerns that we've been hearing about for these last 2 days. So my takeaway from this conference is that it takes a village of actors working together with farmers and agriculture at the center to make progress here. There are many great technologies, but it's how do we get those in the hands of the farmer? How do we scale those? How do we set up those enabling policies? And so I would ask everyone here to advocate at their governments to establish new and innovative policies, subsidies, incentives, research moonshots, positive education systems, things that both push technology into the marketplace, but also pull the technology so that we can get everybody involved.
Thank you. Stella?
Thank you, Isabel. Mine is really very simple. As government, resources are not enough. Our role is really to set the scene,
Yes.
to give comfort to the investors. Investors just need, at the end of the day, to get their money back.
Yeah.
Let's make agriculture more productive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, from my end, I look at it that to drive equitable and sustainable innovations and AgTech, we need to develop stewardship models that are collaborative, context-driven, impact-driven, but also balance innovation, access, and ensuring that our farmers improve their productivity and also the environment and their health first.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the passion, for the clarity, for the vision, and for lending us to tap into your well of wisdom this morning. Would we please give them a round of applause? I would like to invite you to now take a group photo, and we'll proceed with the agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you. No, it's okay. As we do that, I would like to recognize the presence of His Excellency Goodluck Jonathan, the former president of Nigeria, who is joining us in the room. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. Like I said yesterday, good morning. Like I said yesterday, with such an important conversation, time is always not enough. But I believe that we'll have more and more of these conversations. And please reach out to all our panelists during the time of networking, and you can learn more. Now, I'd like you to join me in welcoming to the stage shortly a gentleman that will be giving our path forward. But as we get our scene ready for his his important remarks, this is a good time for you to help me do something. Yesterday, I asked you to turn to your neighbor and say hello, get that business card, get to know who they are. How many of us do know the person next to us? I only got about 5 business cards when I was in this room yesterday, so that shows you how good we are doing. One of our speakers said that time is now. It's not yesterday, it's not tomorrow, it's now. Collaboration has been a red thread and a sing-along throughout our conversations. So you start with the person right next to you. Some of you are just looking at me. It's reminding me of my days on TV when I would just be, but let's talk to the person next to us. Let's talk about how to make our great land thrive when it comes to agriculture. Thank you again to our speakers, our panelists, the participants for your valuable contributions this morning. Now, before we get to our path forward, I feel like we have been sitting for a long time. Yesterday, we had some incredible dancers. I did not see anybody standing up to dance. So now, I would like to call the culture group to give us a cultural performance. And I hope this time round, you can actually feel free in our great nation and join in. The steps are so easy. I'm happy to teach you a couple of those steps. I have 2 left feet, they do say. I'm not the best dancer, but put your hands together for the cultural troupe to come and give us, a vibrant performance to usher us into the next phase of our morning. They're still getting their glam on and their instruments ready to wow you. So before we get into that exciting moment, please put your hands together for Mr. Claude Bizimana, who is the CEO of the National Agriculture Export Development Board, to come and give us the path forward. I beg your pardon on that. For our path forward, we'll have Dr. Solange Owituze, the Deputy Director of the Rwanda Agricultural and Animal Resources Development Board.
Good morning. Good morning. Much better. Your Excellency, Goodluck Jonathan, former President of Nigeria, honorable ministers here present, distinguished delegates, once again, a good morning. It is my privilege to give a path forward to the last session of ACAT 2025, entitled Stewardship, Cultivating a Sustainable Future with AgTech Solutions. The session this morning delved into the responsible and ethical implementation of AgTech, recognizing its critical role in the sector's enduring success. discussions centered on thoroughly safeguarding intellectual property to foster a landscape of shared benefits for farmers, enterprises, and consumers alike. On the subject of safeguarding product integrity and fostering trust, the session emphasized that product integrity and transparency are foundational for building trust and long-term sustainability of AgTech. This means all actors should provide clear information about product functionality, environmental impact, and data usage. Such transparency is essential for empowering informed decision-making among farmers, enterprises, and consumers, ultimately contributing to the long-term viability and sustainability of AgTech adoption. When everyone understands what a product does, how it impacts the environment, and how their data is used, trust flourishes, paving the way for lasting innovation. On the session about balancing innovation with equitable access, a key takeaway was ethical ag deployment requires balancing innovation with equitable access and benefits. While rapid ag tech innovation is crucial for progress, its implementation must prioritize fairness and accessibility for all stakeholders, especially farmers. This includes responsible intellectual property management to prevent monopoly and to ensure the benefit of new technologies are shared widely. By fostering a more equitable and durable impact, AgTech can avoid exacerbating existing inequalities, ensuring its advancement serves everyone. Concerning the embracing regenerative and distributive models, this panel explored the necessity of creating regenerative and distributive agriculture products and systems that operate harmoniously within planetary boundaries. AgTech innovations should focus on solutions that minimize environmental impact, enhance ecological health, and empower local communities. This approach ensures that agricultural production remains within the Earth's ecological limits, promoting true sustainability alongside economic viability. These models represent a commitment to the future where agriculture not only thrives, but also actively contributes to the health of our planet. Some key take-home messages from the panel that passed this morning are these. First of all, the 9 billion Africans that were presented to us this morning, 1 billion are not just a number, they are mouths to feed. And that calls all of us to deploy ag technologies that recognize the centrality of our youth because they are the champions and knowledge generators and the innovation generators of tomorrow. However, these youth do need mentorship, whereby, therefore, we need to have some ag hubs that foster an opportunity for co-creation, and the role of the private sector is very critical in making sure these youth are ably equipped in terms of experience, but they are also financially facilitated to put their technologies into practice, because we're told that an innovation that does not generate prosperity for tomorrow is just a piece of science. Your Excellency, the former President of Nigeria, honorable ministers, this session has sparked collaborative action among diverse stakeholders, fostering trust and stewardship towards the goal of a stronger network and next-gen AgTech solutions for Africa's farmers. I thank you.
Let's appreciate her once more, please. I feel like I've talked about this dance a lot, and I hope we see the enthusiasm when we finally get to that point. But before we do that, I would like to acknowledge the Minister of Minagri, who is in the room. If we could give him a round of applause for Rwanda, Honorable Mark Bagabe. Also to recognize the Minister of State, Minagri, who is also in the room, Honorable Eric Rigamba. And they are inviting you to enjoy the dance. It is a big invitation. We hope you enjoy this morning.
Where the hill rolls like whispers from the past, and the sun rises like a promise that will last. We gather from north, from south, from east and west, the Africa's finest minds with soil on their chests. We're here to talk tractors and tech, drones in the sky, AI and tech, but also to honor the hoe, the hand, the hymn that once sowed sorghum by the moonlight steam. satellites and soil irrigation, mobile apps that predict crop germination. But in our hearts, we still carry the stories of Nyogokuru, wise and visionary. She taught us that every seed is sacred, that the land is not owned, it's respected. And today, as the world shifts and spins, we blend tradition with machine-driven wings. We plant the future in African ways, where agasete isn't just a woven piece, it's a symbol of balance, culture, and peace. So let calcoals echo through these halls. Let Inore dance rise proud and tall. For even as we digitize our yield, we still bow before the sacred field. Because what is take without the story? What is growth without the glory of remembering who we are, of reaching for the stars? ACAT is more than a conference. It is a covenant between the past and tomorrow, between the past and tomorrow, between Kigali's sun and the farmer's sorrow. So raise your voice, Africa. Let Kigali be the seed. Let our innovations feed not just mouths, but every dream and every need. Let growth forward, rooted deep, but also dancing to the rhythm we keep. Murakoze cyane.
Can we please appreciate them for that perfect moment to reflect on the spirit of unity, stewardship that I believe has guided this conference so far. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the final part of our morning together. We do have some inspiring remarks and presentations that will be coming your way. To open this final segment, we welcome Mr. Vitumbiko Chinoko, who is the project manager at OFAP at AATF. He will present the S-Data Melting Pot, offering key insights and reflections drawn from the sessions and stakeholder engagements that we've had throughout the conference.
Good morning. I've been told that the greatest honor you can ever receive is when someone pronounces your name exactly how your mother pronounces. You've just done that honor to me, and I wish to thank you very much. Sasa Mungu akubariki sana. Your Excellency, President Goodluck Jonathan, former President of the Republic of Nigeria, and AATF Goodwill Ambassador, Honorable Mark Bagave, Minister of Agriculture, and all ministers here present, Professor Agri Ambali, AATF Board Chair, and all board members here present, Dr. Canisius Kanangiri, AATF Executive Director, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good morning once again. It is such a great honor, as it is humbling, to present a synthesis of the 5 strategic dialogues convened here during ACAT 2025. We had a youth dialogue, private sector dialogue, researchers dialogue, a ministerial dialogue, and farmers dialogue. These sessions were extremely dynamic, inclusive, and deeply insightful, yielding us a wealth of ideas that cannot be fully captured in the few minutes that have been given now. I will therefore highlight just key outcomes that emerged out of these sessions that perhaps, in my opinion, reflect the collective ambition of these discussions. Before I do that, let me first and foremost acknowledge and thank the able moderators of these sessions, Honorable Minister Bagave, Mr. Anthony Kamau, Ms. Martha Haile, Professor Shamalani Ngwenya, and Professor Egide Karuranga, whose skilled facilitation expertise helped us to get the best out of these sessions. Put your hands together for these great daughters and sons of the soil. Across the dialogues, a consistent core emerged: the need for a more inclusive, technology-driven, and sustainable agriculture transformation rooted in African realities, led by Africans. Allow me to give you a few more details from these sessions. From the youth dialogue, participants emphasized the need for peer and intergenerational knowledge exchange, supported by digital tools, academia, and private mentorship. They called on youth to move beyond short-term grants and build a viable, scalable agri-businesses. Investors were urged to de-risk youth engagement by investing in the growth of enterprises and not just personalities. Further, the youth called for structured opportunities and to be recognized not just as beneficiaries, but as co-architects of Africa's agricultural future. From the private sector dialogue, we highlighted practical innovations including climate-smart practices, drought-tolerant seeds, digital platforms, and insurance models that incentivize resilience. The dialogues urged for closer collaboration with financial institutions, piloting of technologies at the community level, and stronger partnerships among private sector, research institutions, and government bodies, particularly for women and for small-scale farmers. From the research dialogue, participants advocated for inclusive innovation ecosystems that blend scientific and indigenous knowledge. Emphasis was placed on validating traditional practices, protecting genetic resources, and embedding community voices into national research agenda. Innovation hubs, bioeconomy strategies, and equitable benefit-sharing mechanisms were also highlighted. From the ministerial dialogue, which was ably chaired and moderated by Honorable Minister Wagawe, the dialogue reaffirmed the agency of investing in centers of excellency, strengthening institutional capacity, and boosting research infrastructure. Ministers committed to drive policy reforms that would unlock AgTech innovations in line with Kampala Declaration. Further, ministers committed to incentivize enhanced coordination among actors for scale and impact. Last but not least, ministers' dialogue committed to safeguarding Africa's genetic resources as a foundation for future innovation, again in line with Kampala Declaration for Agriculture Transformation. Finally, but indeed not least, the Farmers' Dialogue reminded us that transformation must be grounded in the lived experiences of farmers. Technology must be co-developed with farmers and must be practical, inclusive, and responsive. Success stories such as the Japan AI-powered harvesting robot and Rwanda's hands-on agricultural training model demonstrated the power of innovation when aligned with farmers' realities. Smart villages concept and farmer-to-farmer training were recognized as scalable pathways for impact. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, these dialogues reaffirmed the importance of long-term investment in innovation, in people and institutions for agriculture transformation in Africa. Further, there was a call for the momentum created here not to end with Kigali. There is a strong appetite to institutionalize these dialogues within ACAT for accountability on the commitments that have been made here and for deepening partnerships for scalable agriculture transformation. As I said, ladies and gentlemen, the discussions were extremely deep, and I do hope I've tried to the extent I could to really capture the essence of what came out from these important dialogues. May God bless Rwanda. May God bless Africa. Thank you for your attention.
Esteemed guests, will now move to our reflections of the morning. And to begin us off, I would like to welcome to the stage Ms. Nancy Muchiri, who is the Senior Manager for the Communications and Partnerships at AATF, who will share highlights and priorities emerging from this conference. Welcome.
Thank you very, very much, Moderator Masozera. Your Excellencies, Honorable Ministers, excuse me for that, and country representatives, distinguished farmers, youth, scientists and researchers, development partners, honorable delegates, participants. My role this morning is to help us read through, or rather I will read through, the ACAT 2025 communique, and I confirm after I finish reading, there is room to submit any additions or changes later on, either directly to us, the organizers, or through the ACAT program email. I will read on all our behalf as participants, delegates, representing our reflections, discussions, and commitments during ACAT 2025. Convened by the government of Rwanda, the African Agricultural Technology Foundation and their partners, ACAT 2025 was held at the Kigali Convention Center, KCC, in Kigali, Rwanda, from 9th to 12th June 2025. Themed Next Gen AgTech Solutions for Africa's Farmers, the conference explored promising opportunities for driving agricultural transformation, paying special attention on innovative AgTech solutions tailored to the needs of African smallholder farmers. ACAT 2025 brought together over 700 participants from over 35 nationalities, including the Prime Minister, Republic of Rwanda, the former President of the Republic of Nigeria, representatives of 6 African governments, including 2 ministers from Malawi and Ghana, and over 5 ministers from the government of Rwanda, farmers, 160 youth, heads of international, continental, and country-level agencies, researchers, private sector players, including financial institutions and industry experts. Featuring 4 high-level plenaries, 4 technical interactive panels, 5 strategic dialogues on agricultural technology in Africa as data, which Vitu went through, 8 live demonstrations of scalable technologies, 27 exhibitions of technologies and products, all driving towards fostering of collaborations to deliver scalable, farmer-focused solutions that transform livelihoods and strengthen agriculture in Africa for a resilient future, positioning Africa as a global leader in sustainable farming and recognizing the agricultural sector as the heartbeat of Africa's economies, ACAT 2025 established itself as the premier platform for advancing AgTech transfer, showcasing successful integrated technology packages that bundled effective marketing and distribution systems and digital services with improved seeds, fertilizers, agrochemicals, and mechanization, recalling the commitment during ACAT 2023 to collaborate towards identifying and engaging a critical mass of high-level AgTech ambassadors to serve as the voice of the continent on matters related to the development and deployment of agricultural technologies, noting that commitments and partnerships made during the inaugural ACAT 2023 in Nairobi, Kenya, have contributed to substantial advancements in scaling improved and climate-smart crop varieties and agro-processing innovations that have enhanced crop productivity and improved livelihoods for farmers in Africa, emphasizing the centrality of farmers in driving economic development and committing to continue fostering farmer-centric approaches in building productive, inclusive, and profitable food systems, underlining the importance of co-creation of AgTech solutions jointly with farmers to enhance end-user adoption, diminish the digital divide, and elevate farmer voices by addressing the biases that viewed farmers as recipients of technologies rather than equal partners, recognizing the need for enhanced last mile delivery through strengthening the suite of services, products, and technologies needed in farmers' fields, acknowledging the progress and milestones in policy making, noting that implementation of continental policy blueprints, such as the CADAP Strategy and Action Plan 2026-2035, the CADAP Kampala Declaration, and the African Continental Free Trade Area will provide strong institutional backing for commercialization, creating an enabling environment for private sector, increasing access to allied investments, and harnessing public-private partnerships that produce affordable agtech solutions, acknowledging that agricultural technologies possess the undeniable power to revolutionize agriculture in Africa, but its potential remains untapped if it doesn't reach and empower Africa's youth, the continent's demographic engine and primary workforce. We, participants at the second edition of the African Conference on Agricultural Technologies, ACAT, 1. Welcome the resolutions of the Ministerial Dialogue chaired by the Minister for Agriculture and Animal Resources, Republic of Rwanda, Honorable Dr. Mark Chubahiro Bagabe, which emphasized on enhanced public budget allocations towards agtech-related rural infrastructure development and agricultural training at public universities, catalyzing and fostering multi-sectoral collaboration to drive participatory and co-creation initiatives between the public sector, research institutions, civil society, the private sector, and farming communities, advancing regional harmonization and alignment of national aspirations with continental blueprints, and creating an enabling environment to drive agtech commercialization, and lastly, ensuring equitable access to agro inputs and climate-smart innovations, adequate extension, and long-term food security, and mainstreaming the youth, women, and rural farmers in government policies and strategies. 2, call for the scaling of participatory and adaptive farmer extension, education, and training models, including those that emphasize on value chain approaches, seeing and eating is believing, farmer-to-farmer training, and smart villages to drive sustainable adoption of agtech solutions. 3, commit to prioritize the needs of women and youthful farmers and agripreneurs in developing successful, scalable, and sustainable agribusiness initiatives, including agro-processing and value addition, driven by market demand and strategic partnerships. 4, encourage African governments, regional economic communities, continental bodies and organs to heighten efforts towards mechanisms for de-risking agriculture, increased investments, public-private partnerships, cross-continental and intercontinental collaboration, and building necessary rural infrastructure for sustainable agtech commercialization through their respective policy frameworks. 5, recognize the youth as a strong force that is and should be driving the development and adoption of agtech in Africa, and therefore commit to adopt youth empowerment, mentorship, linkages with investors, and recognition of youth innovations as integral components of ACAT, advocate for the development of youth-friendly policies, and call upon governments and partners to invest in youth-focused agri-innovations, enable their access to finances and knowledge sharing from researchers, foster networking, mentorship, and investments in African institutions that offer internships, skill coaching, and youth mentorship. And lastly, develop an intentional action plan for elimination of challenges on last-mile delivery of agtechs to youth farmers, promoting youth-led innovation solutions while promoting youth programs in between ACAT editions. 6, we commit to exploring transparent frameworks for respectful and fair integration of traditional technical knowledge in soil fertility improvement, pest control, and climate prediction into formal research and development systems that address questions of ethics, intellectual property, benefit sharing, and data sovereignty for farmers, women, and youth. 7, we note that intellectual property protection, when managed ethically and equitably, is an enabler and not a hindrance to innovation. 8, we encourage the promotion of inclusive open source licensing models for plant materials to democratize access and foster collaboration among farmers and researchers, investment in strengthening legal and technical capacity within local research institutions and universities, and training individuals to negotiate fair licensing deals and manage intellectual property responsibly. 8, we reiterate that no single entity can drive sustainable agricultural transformation in Africa, and therefore encourage the establishment of long-lasting partnerships that are grounded on mutual respect and interest and trust, and are capable of scaling proven innovations and driving real transformation for smallholder farmers across Africa. 10, we recommit to sustain engagement on agricultural technology in between ACAT editions through organizing and engaging in strategic dialogues on agricultural technologies, S-data, to foster honesty, accountability among and between farmers, the youth, policymakers, researchers, and private sector players. 11, we endorse the recognition and adoption of ACAT as the continent-wide forum that will showcase emerging technologies and innovations, promote networking, and share knowledge to unlock access to technology and its delivery. 12, we resolve to meet again in Nairobi, Kenya, in May 2027 to take stock of the progress made against the commitments herein agreed to. In closing, we recognize and appreciate the commitment of the former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and AATF Goodwill Ambassador for Agricultural Technology, Your Excellency Dr. Goodluck Jonathan. And we fully appreciate His Excellency President Paul Kagame and the people of Rwanda for their hospitality and hosting of ACAT 2025 edition. I end the communique.
Can we appreciate her once more for that very exhaustive communique? We will now hear from Dr. Canisius Kainanjire, who is the Executive Director, AATF, and also the ACAT 2025 Local Organizing Committee co-chair. We can show him a little bit more love than that. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you so much. Your Excellency, Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and AATF Goodwill Ambassador, Honorable Dr. Mark Kyubahiro Bagabe, Minister of Agriculture and Animal Resources in Rwanda, Honorable Ministers present here, Honorable Chair of the Board of AATF, Professor Agre Ambali, and all the board members present, distinguished delegates, scientists, innovators, development partners, ladies and gentlemen. This is the climax of a very energizing week. I can't realize actually that ACAT is ending. I think we kept very excited and waiting for something new to come. It was very energizing. There are so many adjectives that I would love to use to describe the passion and engagement, during the last 4 days, but for now, let us use just the word electrifying. Together, we have explored many possible angles from which the potential of next-gen agricultural technologies can be fully unlocked, while also acknowledging with remarkable humility the gaps, the challenges, and the missed opportunities from which lessons have emerged. Your Excellencies, my role right now is not to remind you of the details of what we discussed, but to just express our profound gratitude to your commitment as demonstrated by your full attendance, passionate engagement, and honesty in sharing your insights. Thank you very much. Because of your openness to sharing your perspective on your perspective on the themes of ACAT 2025, you have helped raise the benchmark for the quality of future conversations about next generation's ag technologies. I want to most sincerely thank the government of the Republic of Rwanda for accepting to host ACAT 2025. Your leadership and commitment was demonstrated throughout the preparations for the actual conference. We are truly indebted to your support for the success of ACAT 2025. I would also like to appreciate His Excellency Goodluck Jonathan for coming to support us during this week. Your presence, sir, and remarks in the different sessions and the various engagements you have had with delegates have been very encouraging in the work we are all doing to drive agricultural transformation across the continent. Thank you very much. To our partners, we want you to know that your continued friendship and support is highly appreciated and cherished. Thank you very much. To the diverse participants from academia, media, government leadership, NGOs, youth, and farmer representatives, we say thank you very much for your commitment, insight, and continued belief in the potential of transforming agriculture in Africa through collaboration and knowledge sharing. My colleagues at AATF and our Minagri colleagues spent countless hours and days preparing for this event with a firm belief that it was relevant, timely, and worthy of the attendance of highly distinguished guests like yourselves. Your outstanding participation and your engagement during the whole week are the biggest thank you that you have given to this team. I thank you very much. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, let me close my remarks by repeating the famous proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And this brings me to what was said actually during the 2 last days, emphasizing the need of partnership, the need of collaboration, the need of not leaving anyone behind in this journey of transforming agriculture. We look forward to seeing you, or most of you, with refreshed ideas, re-energized commitment, and most importantly, with success stories following from some of the initiatives shared during this week. Coming back to the youth especially, there are so many ideas, so many projects that they think about which need to be just given a push. And those will be part of the low-hanging fruits in the stories that we will share, I hope, in 2027. We are proposing that the next ACAT to be held in 2027, in May 2027, during the week of Monday 10th to Thursday 13th. I'm saying this so that you put those dates in your busy calendar, because we want to get you, we want to assess the progress we are making together as partners into this journey, transformative journey. Thank you very much once again. Travel safely to your destinations, and God bless you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the remarks. We will be proceeding now and hearing from Professor Agre Mbali, Board Chair for AATF, who will also add his voice to this section of our morning. You're welcome, Professor.
The former president of Nigeria, His Excellency Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, the Minister of Agriculture and Livestock of Rwanda, Dr. Bagabe, all protocol observed. I think my task is quite straightforward in the sense that on behalf of the board, management, and staff of ATF, all we can say that we feel relieved that we've come to this point. First, you blessed us with your presence. Secondly, the enrichment of the knowledge that we've shared over here. Thirdly, the quest for this not just being a talk, but action on the ground. And fourth, the fact that you have embraced the youth to really be the ones that take up this journey, and that we should be there to guide the youth. I think my colleague, Professor Carr, eloquently actually teased out that aspect. And of course, there are several areas where you actually have committed to take the necessary action. Even more important is the fact that ATF could not have done this alone. And I think that is what we've tried to emphasize throughout since we convened here, and even in the material that we sent to you before this particular meeting. I'm therefore grateful to the leadership, government, and people of the Republic of Rwanda for really shouldering the burden and the opportunity of actually hosting us in this beautiful city of Kigali. At the same time, also I'd appreciate the partners that have been with us in organizing and running this particular conference. We are a learning organization as ATF, and we've taken a lot of suggestions in terms of what we should be looking into as we move 2027. One of the things was that, can the farmers really take the center stage in 2027 and tell us what they have been able to achieve using the various agric technologies? The other aspect that we've been asked to look into consideration is, can the youth also, participate in several sessions and not just having their own sort of like session at a corner, but they should be part and parcel of all the dialogues, the negotiations, and what have you. And really turn this into a practical sort of platform where people should actually be seeing, actions taking us forward and actually moving forward. Lastly, we've been reminded none of this will go very far unless we put in place a good stewardship program. So with that, really, once again, on behalf of ATF, we are very grateful and we're humbled to be part of this process. We don't hold on it. We've co-owned this process, and we shall co-own this particular process. We look forward to meeting you again. No, I wouldn't say to meeting you in 2027. No, we've said that we would like really this to be sort of like a live sort of like process. There will be other intercession sort of like activities that will lead us to 27. All the same, it has been nice to be with you over here, and really we are proud as ATF and our partners to have come this far. Thank you very much.
Thank you once again, Professor. Can we give him a round of applause? Thank you for the remarks. We've come to a very special moment. The next voice we will be hearing will be that of His Excellency Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, the former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You're welcome, Your Excellency.
The Honorable Minister of Minister of Agriculture, Honorable Dr. Mark Bagabe, thank you for your leadership, and other ministers that are here with us. Let me especially appreciate other CEOs of government agencies and departments from Rwanda and across Africa that are here with us. Let me also appreciate the organizers, ATF, the board chair who just spoke, and the executive secretary and members of the board. Thank you for being with us throughout this period. The partners of ATF and those who sponsor the ACAT program that brought all of us here, we appreciate you. All delegates that have been with us here from Monday till today. I'm not going to make a speech at this closing ceremony. We have listened to so many speeches, including that of the Honorable Prime Minister. The Honorable Minister of Agriculture spoke at various fora, the chairman of the board, the executive director. So we've had so many speeches, and we have listened to fantastic discussions by very good panelists, knowledgeable young men and women that spoke on different issues that covered AgTech. So I don't want to add. But I always remember the lady moderating this program, Isabella Masuzera, always ask the panelists that tell us one sentence that we can take home. So based on her philosophy, I have just 4 sentences. that he will take home, not to make a formal speech. One, Africa is not short of ideas or ambition, never. We are rich in both. We will strengthen our systems and capacity and transform this potential into prosperity. Two, fragmented actions is holding back our progress. We will break the silos and strengthen coordination between key actors, invest in centers of excellence to foster trust and nurture transparent communication between governments, institutions, and the private sector and the people. Three, African youth want to be and should be part of the agricultural transformation story. We will build trust by implementing responsive policies and promote equitable access to meaningful opportunities that make their engagements attractive and very, very rewarding. And finally, effective funding for AgTech solutions is long-term. We will realign our national funding mechanisms to reflect this long-term perspective and persuade our funding partners to take the same view. Please carry these messages with you as you travel safely back home. God bless all of you, and thank you all.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for those key words to remember. Ladies and gentlemen, we now get into more remarks, and I'm delighted to welcome on stage Dr. Alexandra Rutikanga, who is the Chief Technical Advisor at the Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resources. He is also a co-chair for the local organizing committee for ACAT.
Your Excellency, good luck, Jonathan, former President of Nigeria, and ATF's Goodwill Ambassador, Honorable Ministers, Dr. Mark Bagabe, Minister of Agriculture, Honorable Minister of State, Eric Rigamba, ATF leadership, on the top, Professor Agri Ambari, the Chair of ATF Board of Trustees, and the Executive Director, Dr. Canisius Kananjire. Officials from the government of Rwanda and other governments, development partners, private sector, dear scientists and innovators in agricultural technology, youth and women in agricultural technology, members of the local organizing committee from Kenya and Rwanda, distinguished guests, all protocols observed, good morning. It's a pleasure and a honor to give keynote address on behalf of the ACAT local organizing committee. Someone wrote that ends are not bad things. They just mean something new is about to begin. When we came here on Monday for the ACAT second edition, we could already feel that with ACAT, we were beginning something meaningful. And here we are. We are here to transfer all the technologies we have seen across the exhibitions from here to our dear farmers. Dear partners, dear participants, as we close this transformative edition of ACAT, allow me to express my sincere gratitude for your active participation. Over the past few days, we have explored cutting-edge innovations, forged new partnerships, you exchanged business cards, that's what I mean, and reinforced a shared vision. That is nothing else than technology must serve Africa's farmers. The audience, from precision tools and mobile applications to climate-smart practices and AI-powered diagnostics, we've seen that Africa is not just catching up. Africa is rather setting the pace. The next generation of agricultural solutions for Africa's farmers challenged all of us to move beyond conventional methods and to empower every farmer to thrive in a changing world. 3 truths stood out this week. Number 1, Africa's farmers are ready for innovation that boosts productivity and resilience. Number 2, agricultural technologies must be inclusive. That means serving smallholder farmers, youth, women, among others. Number 3, partnerships are essential. That means no single actor can drive this transformation alone. Honorable Minister of Agriculture, Honorable Minister of State of Agriculture in Rwanda, allow me to thank all our partners, especially our co-hosts, ATF, for making Rwanda the venue for this gathering. I also extend a heartfelt vote of thanks to our local organizing committee, which I had a privilege and the honor of leading. Your teamwork, dear members of the local organizing committee, your dedication and the high spirits through all the challenges made this conference a success. ACAT ends with 0 incidents. Thank you to all of you. I also wish to sincerely thank the Minister of Agriculture and Animal Resources of the Republic of Rwanda, and in particular, honorable ministers, for the trust and the confidence they placed in me to coordinate ACAT 2025. ACAT 2025 is not as simple as we thought. It is a premium, high-level platform for showcasing cutting-edge agricultural technologies from Rwanda and across Africa, as you witnessed. It was truly an honor to serve in this role, and thank you, ATF leadership, to have accepted me. Dear participants, as we return home, we are urged to carry forward the momentum. Let's turn pilots into scale. Let's turn ideas into impact for a smarter, more sustainable, and more prosperous African agriculture. On this note, I thank you and safe travels for our guests. Hasta la vista. See you later. Au revoir. Mugere amahoro. Thank you very much. So I would now like to hand over to the chair of ACAT, Honorable Minister of Agriculture, Dr. Mark Chuwahiro Kagabe. He was also the chair of this ACAT local organizing committee and the guest of honor for today. Thank you, Minister.
I don't know. Is this a moment of deflation? I feel Um, like Professor Ambali said, I feel very relieved indeed that we are coming to this point with no incidences. It means a lot. We have had conferences, not only here, but even elsewhere, where you get someone has fallen sick, but I'm glad we are all healthy, and we should be able to take the message home in one piece. Your Excellency, Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, the former President of the Republic of Nigeria, and Goodwill Ambassador of ATF. I particularly, in this closing remark, want to appreciate you on behalf of agriculture lovers, on behalf of agricultural technologies, and on behalf of the government of the Republic of Rwanda, for giving selflessly your time to be the ambassador for agricultural technology advancement. Honorable ministers here present, the chair of the board of directors, ATF, Professor Agri Ambali, ED, ATF, delegates, distinguished scientists and innovators here, development partners, ladies and gentlemen. As His Excellency said, I think I've had enough time to make speeches. I will just make this closing remark very brief. This is just to thank you for ending the third day with the same energy and momentum that you started with. I've been to meetings, conferences, where you begin with all chairs full. By the time the meeting ends, the room is half full. But I can see the chairs are still occupied. But there's a lot to shop in Kigali, which you can do after this. So I really want to thank you for giving this meeting, African Conference on Agricultural Technologies, ACAT 25, a priority for your coming to Rwanda. We started with more than 700, close to 800 delegates, and we are ending with probably the same number. The past 3 days have been very, very inspiring. We've discussed a wide range of issues which have been captured in the declaration, so I don't have to repeat them. I just want to say that we as Africans, this is a pivotal moment. With climate change, population growth, we have no choice, but it's a time to act. And we need, therefore, to forge partnerships with the private sector, which we've said should be in the vanguard of leading agriculture, not actually only commercialization, but also having them as partners in innovations. That's very key. So that's how we should position our relationship with the private sector. As you return home, again, there could be so many key messages, but I think we could just say these 3 or 4. Technology must serve farmers. On the opening day, we said, I think our topic was having farmers at the center. Agriculture that's farmer-centric. That should be our goal, where innovation should be practical inclusive, and responsive to smallholder farmers' needs so that we can create jobs, we can create right from the small farmer in Rwanda to a big commercial farmer in Nigeria or South Africa or elsewhere in Africa. When you look at our demography, our continent, we see that we have got actually a demographic dividend of having a big part of our population being young people. So we should invest in our youth to drive agriculture, invest in skills so that they can be able to transform the agriculture landscape. They are the ones who can embrace new digital tools, I think more than people like myself. And we know these can actually scale up much, much faster. Then partnerships are very important, I've said that. Then lastly, but not the least, we've heard from the press speakers, and I think the panelists, and so many sessions that we attended, that agriculture is perceived as high risk. But many of us, we retire in agriculture. Why should we retire in a high risk investment? Is that a time to play with our resources? The answer is no. Agriculture is not high risk. And actually we've invested, or we should invest in risking this enterprise that feeds so many people, that has made many people very rich. I think the richest man in Nigeria and in Africa, Mr. Ariko, is it called Ariko? Yes, he must be doing agriculture. I think I heard the president saying that he convinced him to go into agriculture. So agriculture has made many people so rich. In the country of the United Kingdom, agriculturists were the most respected people. Those who know this word, they call them boffins. You know, they are the people who drive big cars, Jeeps, Land Rovers, and so on. So agriculture, let's risk it. We create packages of insurance schemes, access to finance, and we will see Africa being transformed. I was listening to a press conference, I think it was a press conference, from the president of Uganda. He took a decision that Uganda is not going to export raw materials anymore. There will always be value addition to whatever Uganda exports. That's the way we're going to brand ourselves, and I think that's a very, very good move, which we all Africans should take. We add value, so we own the whole value chain, right from production, then you process, and you market value added. That's the only way we can be able to compete, by branding ourselves. So let's leave this space, Kigali, Rwanda, really inspired and able to take these ideas and translate them into actions. Let me conclude by thanking His Excellency the President of the Republic of Rwanda, who created this environment for us to be able to be here. This space where we are sitting was his vision that Rwanda should have one of its resource-generating ventures as tourism and conferences. So conference is one of our targets, and I'm glad that we have this facility that can host all of us. And the Prime Minister for having delegated me to represent him. So allow me to conclude by saying the time to scale the next gen AgTech is now. I wish you safe travels back home if you have to go. If you have to go. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Rwanda is a very welcoming home, and you're welcome to stay. I'd like to kindly welcome back the Honorable Minister. Would like to have a photo moment, and Your Excellency, if you could join him on stage. As we come to this incredible end of our time together, I would like to frame this moment and also thank you for choosing Rwanda to be the home of ACAT 2025. I'd like to call on the AATF staff to please join them. We want to have a photo moment with you as well. Please stay, if you could stay on stage. You'll be joined by different individuals who would like to have in this photo moment. The board should also prepare to join next. AATF staff, this is the moment. Thank you so much for the incredible work that went into organizing these days that we've had together of insightful dialogue, networking. The board members, if you could now join the next photo round. AATF board members to join the staff, His Excellency and the Honorable Minister on the stage for this photo moment. Your Excellency and the Honorable Minister, please stay on stage. If we could have the board join the staff, the Honorable Minister and His Excellency for the photo moment. I see some board members still seated. We want you visible. We also have some steps down that we can have some people use so everybody is visible. Thank you so much for your cooperation. Please stay. We are being joined by more individuals. We would like to call upon the ACAT Local Organizing Committee and the full Local Organizing Committee to come and please be part of the picture. Organizing Committee, please. Let's have you part of the photo moment. We can now have the staff take their seats so we can make room for more. The Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resources, the Rwandan team. Oh, okay. Let's have the Minister of State. He's actually in the building. That would be wrong not to have you in this important image. I am told some members of the local organizing committee did not listen to the instructions. Please come and join the photo moment. Would love to have you in this photo. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for joining. We have a few more minutes to get our picture right. This is not a moment we can rush. It's a beautiful close to an incredible time together. If we could now have the ministry, that's Minagri, and the Rwandan team to join the photo. All right, so we can have the organizing committee please take your seats. We create room for the Rwandan team to please join the photo moment. Thank you so much. Okay, all right. Thank you so much for your time and your patience. Distinguished guests, we've come to the end of our time together. It has been an honor to moderate yesterday and today's session. We've come to the close of our time together, but the conversation continues. As you head back to your countries, let us keep the dialogue going. Let us get the collaboration moving, and we hope to see you at ACAT 2026. Before you leave the room, we have the cultural dance coming to grace us with their talent. Just one more time for us to end on an incredible high note. You can feel free to get up and move a little bit. I read somewhere that sitting for more than 2 hours is more dangerous than a pack of cigarettes. So it's the time to stretch your legs. Let's live healthy. I am Isabel Masozera. It has been an honor serving you. Thank you so much. Bon appetit. Enjoy your lunch.
We
technology that have been showcased. I've been able to participate in the various demos that are being done by our partners, and I can see the synergy that has been brought in Rwanda, especially to discuss Matters Africa. Looking forward, we are trying to see how can we be able to mitigate these gaps in Africa, especially for smallholder farmers, and give them solutions that they need, localized to their need actually, so that they can be able to benefit them. So our key mandate as AATF is to make sure that the farmer has money in the pocket and he has food on the table. Thank you.
Well, my name is Solange Mrekezi. I'm the chairperson of beekeeping value chain at national level. I'm here as a person who leads beekeepers. And you know, this is a conference which is for the agriculture and sustainable agriculture for the future of our continent. We are here because, first of all, it's about agriculture. And